Andrea Arjona says filming first Star Wars SA scene in Andor was the acting Olympics. She also cured cancer. I'm not sure if you heard that. I don't know, Badger, if you would give us the
69. Many lives were saved. In Andor Season 2, Star Wars ventures into unprecedented territory by confronting SA head-on with a harrowing scene in Episode 3 where Imperial Officer Kroll attempts to assault Bix Colleen alone and cornered. Bix pretends to be married, hoping that the status will protect her. A defense tactic Arjona explains as a reflection of the desperate measures women often resort to in real life. But when her pleas fail, Bix fights back with brutal force. Arjona described the emotional preparation for the scene as the acting Olympics, fueled by the intensive research into real-life accounts of women who survived SA. The weight of these real stories stayed with her, transforming the scene into something far beyond mere drama. It became a form of tribute. For Star Wars, a franchise historically rooted in mythic battles between good and evil, the inclusion of such a raw human horror is groundbreaking. Arjona summed it up. Tony Gilroy's storytelling brings a mirror effect, showing that the cruelties and struggles women face in our own world are not erased, even in a galaxy far, far away. This scene doesn't just deepen Bix's character, it expands what Star Wars is willing to confront, grounding the space epic and real-world emotional truths that resonate deeply with today's audiences. Boy, that's why I watch Star Wars.
What is everyone's thoughts on this? I think whether you've seen it or not, I personally felt hearing the word was kind of unnecessary, and certainly there has been women have been treated cruelly in Star Wars. Okay,
well, Shmi Skywalker from the Tusken Raiders, for one. I mean, no one just life like that and pins her to front face to a rack if they don't want to do anything horrible to her.
Right.
Point was it was inferred.
Exactly. That's the thing. It's inferred. It was done with more taste.
Yeah, I've watched 17 years of Law and Order Special Victims Unit, and that scene was nothing compared to what I've seen on that show.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Alan. Also a different tone, a different type of show, right? I mean, Star Wars.
I mean, she goes on and just talks about the emotion she brought into the scene and all that stuff, and it's like Americans have been doing this on television for decades.
50 years at least.
Yeah, and what was seen and what was shown, it was kid gloves. I mean, for things I've seen. I mean, Game of Thrones. Wasn't it worse in that show than this one?
How do you keep comparing Star Wars?
We can't compare. We can't do this. We can't compare shows.
No, but I'm talking about television, and I'm talking about television and the depiction of SA on television.
That's not the argument.
No, look, I completely get what you're saying, Alan, and I do agree. Personally, I didn't think it was that bad either, right? Like when I first heard about it, I thought it was going to be like Jodie Foster on the pinball machine kind of shit, right? But no, it was just an attack, right? They did kind of make a bigger deal out of it, I think. My problem wasn't that; it's them using the word, right? Using the R word in a Star Wars property. It's like, look, she could have said he attacked me. Right, that's all she had to do is tell.
He tried to take me. He tried to violate me. He tried to take me away.
Or
whatever.
I mean, when you use that kind of word in Star Wars, it takes you out of it. Like
if a kid watches that, if a kid watches that and she says any of those other things, kid's not going to go to what an adult is going to go to. Just like when Leia is in the bikini and the Twi'lek dancing girls and Shmi, all the adults can infer what probably happened to them, but kids just go, oh, something bad. But when you say he tried to rape me, boy, that doesn't leave much room for interpretation.
Right.
Yeah.
So I can't speak to fully about the content of Andor because I haven't seen it. I've actually only watched Charlie Hopkinson's videos because he's awesome and I love those, but I do plan on watching it. That was the thing, and I still will. I'm going to watch it. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. But this was immediately, these headlines were out there like as soon they had this ready to go. I was so shocked that they just immediately wanted to promote this in such a way that they didn't give any time for people to watch it and then to react. They just immediately wanted to promote their show with this. And I feel like that's really where most of this backlash seems to be coming from. that's just exacerbating this whole conversation. Like, should the discourse about this show be around this one thing? And it seems like it's just overblowing everything, that it shouldn't be. I think people don't really have so much of an issue because the Andor is well made, but that they're promoting it and that they're celebrating it as a milestone, I think is what got people instantly kind of upset, which I think is very justified. I think that's not
the question is, what was the intention behind it? So
yes,
a direct allegory to this would be the Empire comics, when one of Luke's friends, Tank, literally joins the Empire, and it's sort of showing you what would have happened to Luke had he joined the Academy. And he sees an Imperial officer take a prisoner out of line, take her into a cell, tell the stormtrooper to shoot anyone that comes in, and he goes in there, and it's very obvious what's happening, but the scene is done to show Tank's honor. And this is what Star Wars Theory was trying to say when he was like, Vader wouldn't have allowed that. Trying to show the Imperial honor and the fact that most of them, they think they're doing the right thing for the right reasons, so they don't let things like, even if they do horrible things, they could justify that. But that type of stuff, they don't. And it was done to show a good character. This is done to imply that ICE agents do horrible things to immigrants and farm workers. And it's just modern day, not 100%. Classical truth.
That was what I had an issue with, is that not only was it a scene that featured or that implied sexual assault, but that it was being also put in headlines as this is an illegal immigrant or however they were saying it. I can't remember what they said, but it was also like an illegal or an undocumented worker. That's what they were saying. An undocumented person who was also sexually assaulted. So it's like mirroring today's world. And that's not why we watch something. That's not why we sit down to be entertained by Star Wars, just so we can be reminded of, things that aren't currently happening in today's world. Like, that's what I had an issue with, is that, okay, so we're just putting stuff into Star Wars now that's mirroring today, like mirroring today's issues. So it's going to date this show. It's going to date Star Wars when it's not supposed to be that way. You're supposed to be telling a timeless story. And my issue is that it's going to date it. It's going to be like, oh yeah, remember when they put that in Star Wars because of what was happening with, ICE agents and illegal immigration in the US. It's ridiculous.
And I don't like the kind of the discourse too that that's been flown around too, because we know that adult stuff and mature elements are in Star Wars. They've always been a part of that. But they've been accessible to everyone of all ages, male and female, young and old, of all different backgrounds, could all be engrossed and immersed in this universe and its stories and its characters. So that's why I say here that Disney's approach from the very beginning has always been to look at this enormous fan base of Star Wars fans and pick it apart and choose one demographic to make the next thing for. When either OT fans or Clone Wars fans or prequel fans or sequel fans, women, little kids, or just adults, it's only served to diminish and fracture their audience. Like, you need to, for the most part, bring people together through Star Wars. That's why Star Wars was such a pop culture juggernaut, because it was accessible to everyone.
Well, here's your tweet, actually, Nerd Cookies. Maybe you can read it.
Star Wars shouldn't be just for babies. Star Wars shouldn't be just for adults. Star Wars should be for everyone. In my opinion, instead of creating separate stories to appeal to each of these groups, each Star Wars entry should offer something for all ages.
I know people want to make fun of the dialogue in Star Wars, and it's wooden and stilted, but it's supposed to sound old-timey. And all she had to do was change that he tried to take me, and we would not be having this conversation. We'd just be talking about it's boring. You need to make it sound the way George Lucas writes it.
They say visas, and they say other terms. They
say undocumented.
Yeah. We don't need modern swear words because Star Wars already has swear words. We have,
and they wanted the F word in there last season.
Exactly.
So I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
Dude, they're saying undocumented. I mean, we all know what that means. And why are we using that word in Star Wars?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's weird to say in this context. It was like visa too. I heard that was in there. Like, it just isn't. That's something it's in our universe.
It's just so on the nose.
Well, here, Badger, this is from Star Wars Theory. If you would read
friend of the channel, Star Wars Theory. Essay in Star Wars feels unnecessary. You could portray power dynamics and making the audience hate the Empire in other ways without taking it to such a disgusting place. Vader wouldn't tolerate that shit, nor does the Empire condone it. It has no place in Star Wars, period. Unnecessary. depending on how it's depicted, it of course has a place, and we've already shown you the ways. I get that Vader's not omnipresent, he's not omniscient, he's not there all the time, but what he's trying to say is they're making it seem like, boy, every Imperial officer is just having their way with all the women, and this would be an extreme rarity in the Imperial military. An extreme.
Here's from that Star Wars girl, if you would, Badger.
Yes, watched Andor season 2, and yep, it's real. An Imperial officer tries to grape Bix using the power dynamic that she's an illegal, and he can deport her. It's beyond fucking retarded and doesn't belong in Star Wars.
Yeah. She's right.
And we also don't. I don't want just sex in Star Wars either. That's just I just think personally things can be inferred, and we didn't need to see Padme and Anakin being intimate to know how Luke and Leia came into the world. We can put 2 and 2 together, and the audience, their imagination can fill in those gaps in a way that doesn't have to exclude younger audiences. But still, as you age, older viewers can still get those additional nuances and can pick up on certain things.
Yes.
And I will say, sex, I think that Star Wars is pretty innocent, very much like a fairy tale for kids. I don't see sex as being a big part of Star Wars.
Romance. I'm all for romance.
Romance, yes. Conversely, I would say it's true for Star Trek has a lot of sex, and it is sexy. And
especially early days.
Especially early days. Captain Kirk is, he's a
man whore.
Yeah.
Riker.
Riker. Yeah. And that's okay. I mean, Gene Roddenberry himself was he a swinger, Rod? Like he was.
Oh, he was a swinger.
Yeah.
Rob was.
He was definitely like the ladies.
Well, and the sex has always been there and expanded.
But then they started putting violence and then swear words and yeah, that in New Trek, and definitely do not like that. That was never a part of Star Trek ever, and it takes you out of it because it's never been a part of that universe before. And I think that's at the end of the day what this is. It was really shocking, and they wanted it to be shocking. And if they weren't shocked already, they had the press releases ready to go to drum up that controversy. And I don't know if it was intentional to just try to get people talking about Andor, even if it was in a negative, shocking way. It just seems like a very weird tack to approach promotion.
Negativity sells. So,
but also those stories were ready. That seems really suspicious.
I hadn't even had a chance to watch it yet, but it definitely has hampered my excitement for sure.
It just seems weird that
would using be controversy to market their show. That's
but also
and it's working because it's getting people to watch it.
Yeah, wait till Andor deals with slavery and the Holocaust in future episodes.
That was slavery. That was the fun thing. Right now, there's a red light sector in Coruscant. That's not the, but it exists. Just we know what that means, but most don't. Do you want me to read this?
Well, yeah.
There's a casino in The Last Jedi, for crying out loud.
That's right.
One last quick thing I will say is the word took me out of it. Not what was happening. We've seen people be treated cruelly in Star Wars, but that word took me out of it. It's that's why I thought that they should have had you probably shouldn't have said it, but even in Battlestar Galactica, they say frack instead of fuck. And I like it. It's fine. You can't say the F word on TV. You can say frack. And
Kark is the F word of the Star Wars universe. Kark and Kriff both are interchangeable F words. They have them.
Yeah, I hear Dank Ferrick a lot. Is that a swear word?
I can't believe you would say that in polite company, Elaine.
Anyways, Badger, if you would read this tweet.
Hashtag Andor dared to go to the darkest places Star Wars could offer. An Imperial officer abusing his... I'm sorry, I'm just thinking Anakin wiping out the Padawans. But an Imperial officer abusing his untouchable status to grape an undocumented migrant while his troops are rounding up other undocumented citizens. This is the real world seeping into Star Wars storytelling. This is the world we live in, reflected in the galaxy far, far away. This is Star Wars at its most political, its most potent, its most frightening. I must commend the writing team's bravery to not shy away from such topics, to depict fascist regimes as they are. Speak the word grape directly into the camera and show just how despicable fascists really are. Andor is as brilliant as it is terrifying.
And this is from the Siege of Sci-Fi, which is at TSOS -- on X. I think you can certainly deal with the issues without being. What happened to subtlety? What happened to nuance? What happened to just things beneath the surface rather than having to spell it out? I'm pretty sure Shmi Skywalker wasn't just tied to a pole.
What do you think she was doing all those days?
Murder and torture has happened, and this is nothing new. But what is the purpose of the story in the narrative sense? Exactly. Is it grotesque? Is it unnecessarily focused on? And with Leia and Han, were both tortured as in the original trilogy, but it wasn't unnecessarily graphic. It cut away, but we understood what was going on, and we understood that it was severe. We didn't need to see the act to happen. We saw the effects of it, and yes, the audience can fill in the rest to where it doesn't have to alienate younger viewers.
They also missed an opportunity with the fact that the Empire doesn't like non-human species. So why did they do this to a human when they could have done it to any other alien and had a stronger point with regards to what the Empire actually does? They'll treat humans slightly better, but they'll still suppress them, but they'll really go hard and mean against an alien species.
It's also disingenuous to continuously bringing up Anakin killing the younglings. There's a reason for that. He didn't enjoy it. He's doing it because 1, Sidious told him to. 2, he needs all the dark side that he can muster. He didn't like doing it. That's why he's crying on Mustafar. He's thinking of himself as a slave child and everything he thought he would do and everything he's ending up doing. But that is all done for very specific reasons, not to have some sort of real world metaphor about child murder. It's just, we're arguing about completely different things.
And probably the most graphic would be how Anakin, what happens to his body and when he becomes Darth Vader.
Right.
And I think the audience was already prepared, because in the original trilogy, we know he's more machine than man. So, and if you just watch the films, you would have an expectation, and in the marketing too, he doesn't wear the suit for fun. He's going to have something traumatic happen. And I think the audience already expected that. So,
and you needed to see it.
And it was necessary for the story. This was a necessary part of Vader's. So was it necessary? What was the motivation behind it? Was it from a true source of creative inspiration, or was it creativity by committee? And every time, George Lucas is guilty of this too, when pandering to little kids with the prequel trilogy or with the Ewoks. And I didn't like it as a kid either. I never like catering just specifically a scene for one specific group. I didn't like it as a kid a little, and I don't feel like it's necessary that you have to do that. I think it throws off the tone when you have something silly and then the next scene something pretty graphic. I think it just threw it off the consistency. But no one likes being pandered to because it doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel like it was part of the creative process. I just imagine a bunch of suits saying a production notes. We need to pander to this specific demographic, so make this happen in the story. And that's what I feel it's kind of the motivation behind this was forced, and with the subtlety of a chainsaw, people know there's no subtlety, and I feel like there could have been some degree of restraint and creativity.
That's their side extolling how obvious and on the nose the modern day political analogy was. That's not us paranoid that thinks everything is an attack. That's their side saying, look how stunning the modern day message was.
I think a lot of it is the writing. It's not, I don't think modern writers are about putting anything under the surface. Any sort of message or thing they want to say is right up top. It makes me sad. Rob, on one of your recent streams, you were talking about Twilight Zone, and I love Twilight Zone. Grew up on it. They were all morality tales that were not always on the nose. Sometimes they hit the target. But Monsters on Maple Street is brilliant. Holds up till today. It's such a great story. One of the first episodes of Twilight Zone ever made. And it's
true.
And it's more true now than ever is Monsters on Maple Street. So
Monsters are due on Maple Street.
Monsters are due on Maple Street. Thank you for the correction. There's
I don't think that modern writers, one, they don't have the creativity to create anything nuance, whatever, but they also want their message to be on the nose. They don't want their, writing to be open to interpretation. They want people to know that this is what I'm referring to. This is what I'm referencing. They don't want other people. They don't want people to interpret it differently, right? They don't want writing to have nuance. Like I don't think that they, one, trust their audience to interpret it differently, but two, they don't want people to interpret it any other way than what they are writing it to be.
The Neil Druckmans, the Russell T Davies, the Alex, they're like, well, no, if you're not writing about this, what are you even doing with your platform type of viewpoint?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. By the way, be prepared for the insurrectionists to come.
Yeah. Their insurrection is coming in Star Wars. Get ready. Get ready.
Strap in, folks.
There's more going on behind the scenes, but
Summer of Love.
I'll just say Andor season 2 does get better. And I believe really, I did not like season 1, and season 2 I enjoyed.
Are there more aliens, by the way? I'm like actual.
Yes,
there are aliens.
You'll even get to the Galactic Senate. There are some, really, and even I wouldn't even call them action sequences, but really great thrilling moments of tension and espionage and James Bond almost. That's what Cassian Andor kind of becomes more James Bond, and I gotta say I really enjoyed the second half.
I'll say that episodes 6 through 9 are very good.
Yeah,
and then the rest
so 3 episodes out of 9 are good.
3 and a
like
half.
Season
episodes.
1 was like that. It had very strong moments, but I was disappointed by several of the characters, like Cyril being the most disappointing for me. I thought his arc started out the most interesting, and it doesn't seem like that's going to improve.
That one actually pays off in this.
Yeah, that one pays off a lot. Like there's, and also by the way, it's leading into Rogue One. People's fate. You will see people's fate play out, and I think it's worth the wait. So